May 17th, 1973. The Crystal Ballroom at the Beverly Hills Hotel glittered under chandeliers worth more than most people's homes. 200 of Hollywood's most powerful figures sat in black tie, sipping champagne and applauding themselves for their generosity. It was the annual Humanitarian Awards, and that night, Dean Martin was being honored. For over a decade, Dean had quietly donated millions to children's hospitals. No press, no headlines, no interviews. He showed up, sat beside sick kids, made them laugh, paid medical bills, and left without telling anyone. He hated awards ceremonies, but he agreed to attend because the charity was real. What he didn't know was that Marlon Brando would be in the room. Brando was Hollywood royalty in 1973. The Godfather had redefined cinema. Critics called him the greatest actor alive. Method acting, intensity, transformation. But genius often walks hand in hand with arrogance. Brando had publicly criticized actors like Dean Martin before, calling entertainers personalities instead of real actors. To him, acting was suffering. It was torment. It was art. Dean made it look easy, and Brando hated that. When Sammy Davis Jr. finished introducing Dean, the ballroom erupted in applause. Dean walked to the podium, smiling in that relaxed, effortless way that made America love him. He gave a short speech. If you've got more than you need and someone else has less than they need, helping them isn't heroic. It's just basic decency. The room applauded. Then suddenly, one pair of hands clapped slowly. Mockingly, the applause faded. Marlon Brando stood at the back of the ballroom, clapping with theatrical sarcasm. "A hack receiving an award for charity," Brando said loudly. "How perfectly Hollywood." Silence. 200 of the most powerful people in entertainment froze. Dean stood still at the podium. 5 seconds passed. Then he set the award down carefully, adjusted the microphone, and spoke. "Marlon, I didn't realize you were here tonight. If I had, I might have prepared better material." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. But since we're being honest, Dean's tone changed. Calm, controlled, cold. 2 months ago, a housekeeper in East LA lost her home in a fire. For kids, no insurance. The city told her to wait 6 months for assistance. I rebuilt her house. Quietly, the room shifted. No cameras, no interviews. Just did it. Dean looked directly at Brando. 6 months ago, a young actress lost everything in Malibu. She called everyone she knew in this business. Directors, producers, co-stars. He paused. "She called you too." The air tightened. She never got a call back. No one moved. I rebuilt her house as well. Dean didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You want to talk about craft? About art? About transformation?" He leaned slightly forward. "Art doesn't mean a thing if you're not decent when the cameras turn off." Gasps. "You say I'm not a real actor because I don't suffer for roles. Maybe, but I don't think suffering makes you great." He let the words land. "Helping people does." Half the room began clapping. Then more joined. Within seconds, the ballroom erupted. Not polite applause. A standing ovation. Brando stood still. For the first time in years, the greatest actor alive had no script. 48 hours later, the press exploded. Stories surfaced of Dean's quiet generosity. Medical bills paid. Homes rebuilt. College funds created. No publicity. No ego. Just action. 2 days later, Brando requested a private meeting. He arrived at Dean's home humbled. "I was wrong," he admitted. Dean didn't gloat. He simply said, "Being a great actor doesn't make you a great man." The next day, Dean took him to a children's hospital. No cameras, no headlines, just sick kids. Brando watched as Dean knelt beside hospital beds, joked with bald-headed boys going through chemotherapy, comforted mothers drowning in medical debt. No acting, no performance, just humanity. That was the moment Brando changed. Over the next years, he quietly began helping people without publicity. Not perfectly, but consistently. And years later, in an interview, he admitted, "The most important lesson I ever learned didn't come from an acting teacher. It came from a man I once called a hack." The real story. Talent impresses people. Character changes lives. Dean Martin never claimed to be a genius. He just showed up. And sometimes, that's the greatest performance of all. Dean pulled out a card, wrote something on the back, and handed it to her. "Call this number," he said. "I'll make sure everything you need is covered. No questions, no forms. Just done." Brando watched silently, his jaw tight, his usual arrogance nowhere to be found. Every smile, every laugh Dean had ever given on stage suddenly carried weight, purpose, and meaning. This wasn't performance. This was life-changing kindness. Dean moved from room to room, treating each child and family as if they were the only people in the world. He helped with homework, joked about cartoons, praised bravery, offered comfort, and quietly ensured that financial burdens were lifted. Brando followed, observing, learning, absorbing. He'd spent his career perfecting the art of illusion, and here was a man who used his fame to create real change. No cameras, no press, no applause. By noon, Brando was exhausted, but in a different way than he'd ever known. Not from method acting, not from memorizing lines, not from pretending to feel something he didn't. Exhausted from seeing real suffering, real need, and realizing how much he had ignored. Dean paused by a room where a young girl named Lila was drawing pictures of her family. She looked up, shy but curious. "Do you like my drawing?" she asked. Dean knelt beside her. "It's amazing," he said. "Tell me who everyone is." Lila pointed to her mom, her dad, and a smiling stick figure she said was herself. "I like how you made me brave," she whispered. Dean smiled. "That's because you are. Don't ever forget it." Brando shifted uncomfortably. He had never experienced this level of humility, of direct, unfiltered generosity. He realized that being admired for talent was meaningless if it didn't translate into real compassion. After several hours, Dean and Brando stepped outside to the hospital garden. The sun was high, the city stretched beyond the walls, and a soft breeze carried the laughter of children who, for a moment, felt normal, safe, and seen. Dean handed Brando a folder. "This is a list of people who need help. Some you may know, some you won't. Your job is simple. Show up. Listen. Do what you can." Brando took it with trembling hands. I don't know if I can do this." Dean smiled. "Then just start. Nobody expects perfection. Just start. The rest will follow." Brando nodded slowly. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose beyond himself, beyond art, awards, and fame. A responsibility he couldn't ignore. The next weeks and months saw a transformation that Hollywood hadn't anticipated. Brando began visiting hospitals, supporting struggling crew members, and quietly helping those in need without ever seeking recognition. He learned the language of real compassion from Dean Martin: consistency, humility, and action over words. What started as a tense confrontation at the Beverly Hills Hotel became a turning point, not just for Brando, but for Hollywood itself. The legend of Dean Martin wasn't just the crooner or the charming actor. It was the man who showed that true greatness is measured not by applause, but by the lives you touch without anyone knowing. And as for Marlon Brando, he finally understood that brilliance without humanity was hollow, and that sometimes the quietest acts of kindness leave the loudest echo. The story of that day remains a lesson. Real power isn't in the awards, the fame, or the craft. It's in showing up for the people who need you the most.